Tell me, what does faith mean to you?
Faith. The definition of faith that I understand is A, you have to believe in your heart. It's in three phases. You have to believe in your heart. You have to express it with your mouth, and you have to speak it out. And third, you have to act and you have to perform deeds that will not only be a stamp about your faith, but it will also be an I wouldn't say an advertisement, but a symbol of your faith. So since when I'm in this dress, I'll be extra cautious as to what I am doing, whether I'm going to a mosque to offer my prayers, whether I'm offering it in my house. You have turned up today. Even if you have not turned up today, it has never, I have always been very conscious that irrespective of whether I could be a single person in a single room, and it may happen that the lights may go off, but God is definitely watching me, and so I have to offer my prayers in exactly the same fashion as God wants me to do. And not only that, sometimes momentarily we may get angry and we may lose control on our thinking abilities, but otherwise every single moment of your life I am aware as to what I am up to. I probably may commit a sin. Let's say I saw some photograph on the net, any lady or any actress, and looks appealing, I may click on her. That clicking of mine is a sin. I should not have gone to that site. But I am aware of, so not even for a single moment will my mind waver, and that to an extent comes from that faith. It is, who am I cheating? I'm cheating God. And that I can't, it never, so whether I go to sleep or whether I'm waking up or whatever I'm doing, I'm stepping out of the house, anything and everything. But even when I have come to receive you out, so the first thing that I do when I step outside, I say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, in the name of God. So even for a second or for those little moments, I cannot miss God. He's there watching me, and I have to see that I am. So, of course, most of the time I'm always a sinner, but the idea is that God consciousness never leaves me. And how can it come? 20 years back when I had started offering my prayers, for me it was just a prayer, something I had to perform. Today that entire idea has changed for me. And I'm like rice. The more I'm aging, the better I'm maturing. And my faith is also maturing with me. My father was not he was not well off. Not rich. I would say we were poor, yeah. We were poor. And I have seen those days there when, so I was always taught as a child, I have to respect food. And food has to be respected in such a way. We, in my community, we sit in a different fashion, where all the people of the family sit together from a single, there's this big steel plate which we call thal. We all eat together from the same bowl and everything. And my father, my grandmom specifically, she always used to be the last person to get up. She'll finish all the food and she will clean up the whole of that plate. And she passed it on to me. I think around the age of 14, she has told me that, Juzer, apart from me, now it is you who will look after this thing, that when you will always be the last person to get up and see that food is respected. I don't want to use the word food. In Islam we call it maidat and everything, but my English vocabulary is giving me this. Anyways, So it became so important for me that even it became so important for me that not a grain of rice should remain back in that plate. And what used to happen is, always my father, since I can remember, he always used to say, God has given two things. God has given man everything except two things. One is rizq, the ability, that is the food that it comes on your plate. I mean, there's a word I can't get it. And one is death. He says there's two things God has kept with himself, otherwise everything has been given to man. He's got the intelligence to do anything and everything except the power to get the meal in front of him and death. And this thing always was there. I mean, I must have heard it from the age of 4 probably, from the time I started here understanding my father. And this probably was also one thing. And what happens in India, unfortunately, I'll tell you, is that people throw away food. And it boils me. I mean, sometimes I feel like if I see some person, I feel like taking that food and throwing on that person's face. I said, how can you insult food? I mean, you have to. Again, I remember the crisis in Ethiopia, I remember the crisis in Kalahandi in Orissa. All this happened during those formative years of my mind. And it always used to remain, just for a grain of food. I mean, look at the conditions these people are facing. So it always eats me. Even today, one of the I always, whenever I'm walking on the road and when I'm walking through the, if there's some garbage pile and if I see food lying there, I said, probably the only reason if I ever leave India and if I won't come back to India is because people in India throw away food like this. I mean, how can you waste so much food? So, and this particular quote from my father, that whatever food you get in your life is always because of God. So this played a kind of a major role in my life. And I was coming back to, what was it? Let me think. Oh, the plane is coming. I very clearly remember I have been one of those people who have actually gone on the road. I have picked up those chapatis, those leftovers and everything. People would not even dream of thinking. I mean, it used to be in such dirty conditions, and I used to this very fingers of mine, I used to lift up the food, I used to go and put it in a place where nobody would stamp on it. And even as of today, I mean, just like the passion for research, there's this burning passion for food, which I feel that how can somebody waste? I mean, I probably may not express my anger, but I mean, I get livid. I mean, how can you waste food? I mean, if you can't eat it, then don't eat. I mean, don't serve yourself that kind of a thing. Or if in case there are so many hungry people, just take that pile of food and go and give it to their innumerous beggars in it. Even today in the city of Bombay, if night 11 o'clock you step outside, Bombay has gone through this great, I mean, what do you call, boom in this economy, but still you will find there are people who are lying hungry on those. I mean, if not, at least you will find those drug addicts who are ready to accept anything, because not just the drugs, but even they need food at some point in time, and they realize that. And you will always find on these local platforms and everything. So, I mean, that has always played a very strong role in me, and this my dad's statement that food is something which comes from God. And I've always felt, yes, on that one statement, whether at the age of 15 when I did abuse God, but it never passed away from my mind that yes, food is provided by God, you have to look after that.